Well, good evening and welcome to Streaming Star Wars. Nick, how are you doing, buddy?
Happy Friday, my friend.
We made it through another week. Another week of
Surprisingly, somehow streaming Star Wars has returned. That's what we'll go with.
It's true, and I mean, I don't want to be, cold-hearted or dismissive, but it has been really a horrible week for just all the worst possible reasons with what's
Absolutely.
happening in Ukraine, and our thoughts and just it's sometimes hard to concentrate on sort of the silly stuff that we do every day, but
Right.
but yeah, we definitely we keep that in mind. But it's interesting, through Twitter I ran a poll and just asked people like what when things like that are happening, because there's all kinds of stuff happening here at
Mm-hmm.
home and over there, and kind of got into what role does this sort of stuff play, and about 35% of people were like, it just feels trivial. And I get that. Like
Right.
at that point, and I mean, sometimes it really does, but a lot of people really need sort of that outlet, that
Mm-hmm.
conversation, and whether they need it more or just kind of use it to kind of keep their lives normal. That's what we're going to try to do tonight. And
That's right.
this week was the preview opening of Galactic Starcruiser down in Disney World, and you and I were talking. I said, I'm going to throw a tweet out there and see if we can find somebody who wants to talk about it with us, and we did. And I'm really excited that we'll have a guest in a little bit. What's your, we haven't really talked about this. What's your kind
That's
of
right.
take on the Galactic Starcruiser as a
I
fan, and
yeah. Yeah, and as somebody who, I look for the good in Star Wars. You and I both
Mm,
do that. It's
mhm.
kind of built into our DNA to go. It's supposed to be fun. It's for entertainment. It's for the escapism, just like
Yep.
what you were just talking about. When the world is difficult, to have something like Star Wars or a fandom that we're close to brings us comfort, and it gives us a way to kind of work through issues and different things. As relates to Galactic Star Cruiser, I think it's fascinating. I think it's really neat. When I first heard about it, I was thrilled.
Hmm.
When I heard how much it was going to cost, I was a little less thrilled.
Right.
But I'm not angry at it, because there are lots of things in the world that cost way more than I'm going to pay to be able to participate in. But that doesn't mean that I should hate those things either. And I also think that, and we'll get into this with our guest, reading some of the comments about how certain parts of it felt or how this and that. It's also one of those reminders that we tend to come back to, I think, a lot more recently. Most of the people that are going to go do Galactic Star Cruiser aren't as into Star Wars as you and I are. So
It's quite possible. Yeah.
They're
Yep.
not going to be walking around picking apart, well, language wise, that's not correct, or that color is
Right.
not what it's supposed to be, or,
Yep.
whatever the thing is. So
Yep.
my bottom line is, it's supposed to be fun. A bunch of folks are going to have fun with it. And if I ever get a chance to do it, I'll have fun with it too. But it's not something there for me to be mad at. It's something for me to go, wow, isn't that a heck of a thing?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree. Well, we'll get into that in just a minute, but it is Friday night, which means that we have some Star Wars news this week. Not as much news as usual. And now that I said that, I mean, something probably literally just hit as we were sitting here. But if you don't mind, I'll get to the news.
Let's do it.
Somehow, Palpatine might return, Lego goes gold, and the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser welcomes its first guests. Give us 5 minutes, and we'll give you the galaxy. Well, another week, another flood of news, rumors, clickbait, and conversation. This is Pete Fletzer, and welcome to Disturbances in the Force. All the Star Wars news you need in less time than it takes to fly the Falcon at Galaxy's Edge. So let's get to it. Well, in an interview from September of 2021 with Ian McDiarmid, the actor who's played Emperor Palpatine in the Star Wars movies, has sparked the clickbait site Frenzy, claiming that the award-winning actor was returning to play the Sith Lord in the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series. In the clipping from the Metro from last year, McDiarmid says, quote, "I think I have to accept that thanks to my ungrateful granddaughter, my annihilation was finally final. But of course, Vader is back in the new Kenobi television series. So I suppose it's not impossible that one day his mentor might be discovered once again skulking in the shadows. And while this is far from confirmation that he will appear, it does kind of make sense in the timeline that he could appear in either the Kenobi series or he could appear in the Andor series, a prequel to Rogue One, also set before the events of A New Hope. There's been no official word on McDermott's casting, and perhaps we will learn more when Kenobi debuts on May 25th of this year. Earlier this week, the Lego Star Wars video game Twitter account proudly announced that the game has finally gone gold. In video game vernacular, that means that the game is fully developed, completed, and ready to ship. The family friendly game will allow players to explore all 9 Skywalker saga films in any order they like, with the Lego brand of humor always along for the adventure. With options to explore the entire franchise as one of hundreds of characters riding hundreds of vehicles, the game promises to be enormous in scope. Famous among gamers, this title has been repeatedly delayed and originally had a release date to align more closely with 2019's The Rise of Skywalker. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga will be available for all major consoles on April 5th, 2022. Well, here's a rumor. Multiple sources, including Collider, are claiming that a new live-action Disney Plus Star Wars series may be in the works that is, quote, geared toward a younger audience. Production Weekly identified a new series heading into production, and Discussing Film is claiming that Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts has been tapped for at least one episode. Cinelinx has recently claimed that Lucasfilm and Disney are working to create a live-action show tied to the High Republic era of content that kicked off in 2021 in books and comics. Rumors are abound, though, that casting calls have been out for child actors to be part of the series. Cinelinx has called this show Stranger Things in Space, and it could start filming as early as June of this year. However, there has been no official word from Lucasfilm or Disney at this time regarding this potential series. A new comic book series adapting each individual episode of season 1 of The Mandalorian was announced on StarWars.com on Friday, written by Rodney Barnes and illustrated by George Ginty. The books will hit shelves this summer. And finally, Disney World opened up the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser resort this week in a special preview for reporters, influencers, and invited guests. For the first time, people are able to see and hear what happens on the roughly $5,000 two-night immersive experience. Reviews have been generally positive, but some of the loudest voices have offered a commentary about the high price tag. We will be speaking to one of those who was lucky enough to be there when we drop our streaming Star Wars in the podcast loop on Monday. The Galactic Starcruiser is now accepting reservations and opens officially on March 1st. Well, that wraps it up for this week's Disturbances in the Force. Be sure to check out the ATG podcast stream for weekly one-on-one interviews with the people behind the fandom. This Thursday, Podcast of the Wills welcomes author Matthew Paul Turner. Please subscribe for regular updates, follow us on all your social media channels at ATGcast, and visit our website at atgcast.com to keep up with us, find our merch, and get information about supporting the show as an ATGcast patron. Thank you so much for listening, and may the Force be with you. So kind of quiet with the news. I mean,
well, and I was going to say, I don't want to be too cliche, but we
Right.
say that every week. It's a slow news week. There's not a lot going on.
Yeah.
But you always pump out a solid 5 or 6 minutes of news. And it is stuff that, of course, you and I find ourselves late in the week texting back and forth going, is this a story? Is this a story?
Can we use this one?
Which
Can we
kinda-
use this one?
Yeah, it kind of adds to the fun. It adds to the hunt for it.
Yeah.
We're about to get to our amazing guests, but before we do, I would be
Yes.
remiss if we didn't do a couple of things that we normally do at the top of the show. The first one is I raise my glass to you, my friend, because
Cheers.
here on streaming Star Wars, as we like to say, bad takes and brown liquor. That's how we like to live.
It's the way we roll. Exactly.
And I also want to shout out, and I guess as a way of raising my glass, shout out our friends that are hanging out in the live chat. We've got watchers tonight. I know just here quickly, I've seen Matthew, I've seen Michael, I've seen JD, I've seen Brick something. I know there's some other folks watching. Williams here. So thank you all so much for hanging out. I hope you're excited for this conversation. I know that Pete and I are. And keep your comments going. Stick with us throughout the show. And if you throw some stuff in that we can build into the conversation, that's kind of one of our goals with this show is, as we always say, it's kind of like sports talk radio, but for Star Wars. So we want y'all to be involved and we want to be able to include your voices as well.
Absolutely. And before we bring in Terry, one last thing. I do want to stress that this will be a spoiler-filled conversation about the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. We've given Terry and her husband Andrew, who's going to join us, sort of free reign. We're going to talk about it all. So get on if you don't want to know anything about it, We'd love to have you hang out, but we'll send you off. So without further ado, let me bring in Terri Peters.
Hey.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us, Terri. And Andrew, nice to meet you as well. How's it going?
Doing good.
You guys are recovered from your visit
Barely.
to, to space, and you're back. So, Terri, for those who don't know you, you are a senior editor for the life section of Yahoo. Maybe tell us a little bit about yourself.
So we live in Florida, and I know, when we were talking offline, you had asked me sort of how I got into Disney, and I actually think it's a funny story. The first time we went to Disney, our kids were 4 and 6, and we lived in Maryland, and I hated Disney. I swore I'd never go back. It was so stressful. I was one of those moms that wanted to get everything done, and everyone had princess dresses and lightsabers, and we were going to see it all and do it all. And I came home and said I would never go back. And so we moved to Maryland, and I was working for today.com for the Today Show. I was there about 10 years. And so I did a story for them, and it was about Disney and the character couture makeovers that they did for princesses.
Mm-hmm.
And right at the same time, they were opening Toy Story Land. And so they invited me to come to a media event for that. And that was 5 years ago, almost 4 years ago. And so because I'm local, but also a national reporter, I get invited to a ton of this stuff, and it's super fun and super exhausting, and I really like it. So, and my husband and kids get to come along with me. My kids are 13 and 11 now, so they come along for the ride. So
you did the Bippity Bop Boutique.
No, we didn't even do that. I thought
didn't.
It was super expensive. I was at least smart enough to be like, I'll buy you something at the dollar store.
See, I wish you talked to my wife. That would have made,
but
made that trip
I
easier.
learned so much from that trip, and one of the things that drives me crazy is, in this career and in what I do, a lot of people ask me all the time for tips for going to Disney, and I always say, take the middle of the day, go back to your hotel, go to the pool, take a nap, get a shower, dress up for dinner, de-sweat, go out like a real person. They never do. And then they come home and they're like, oh, I hated Disney. You're right. It was so busy and stressful. And I say, did you take a break at the hotel? And they never do. I don't know why I do what I do, but I try. So
all you can do is tell people. If they take that, you could lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. Now, Andrew, you got to go, and it was a family event. What's your sort of Star Wars fandom level? Would you put yourself, where would you kind of fall in that?
Yeah, I'm probably higher up on the list than my wife. But we tried to watch the movies with the kids prior to going to the Star Cruiser event. And for a while there, it seemed like we might not get on to go. And so we kind of slowed down. So we had to speed it back up when we got the invite. But been a lifelong Star Wars fan, really enjoy it. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Excellent. So cool. So, Terri, tell us a little bit about the process, and because one of the things that we're seeing on Twitter, and that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to get somebody who is there to join us. And I'm actually really glad that you don't have a Star Wars blog or a podcast or all Star Wars all the time on social media, because I want to get that perspective, because one of the, there's a lot of sort of nitpicky, and there's a lot of sort of traditional Twitter fierceness, but there's also a lot of people excited about it. And a lot of people who really want to go. Tell me a little bit about how you and what kind of people were part of this preview event.
So every one of these events, it's very different. And I'll tell you, this one, I very much was aware that Disney PR split it kind of into national journalists and then local Orlando-based journalists. And then there were, Instagram influencers and content creators there. And then a lot of, YouTubers and the people like Disney Food Blog. If you haven't watched, she just did a video that we thought, oh my gosh, she killed it. It was so on point, so well done. But so it was a lot of, they did a very good job, I think, of splitting it among everyone that does something different and kind of having people that were journalists that could kind of hit it from that point, which is what, a lot of my colleagues did. And then people that were those really amazing YouTubers that produced this content that a lot of families turn to, right, when they're planning their
Mhm.
trips, and then a lot of that Instagram, and there were a lot of like Star Wars cosplay Instagrammers there, I think, that I was unfamiliar with, but they looked amazing. And my son knew a lot of them from like following them on TikTok, which was crazy. I know IGN was there, and like GameSpot, a couple different people like that, as well as like, you know, Click Orlando and the Orlando Sentinel and different places like that. So it was kind of a big, you know, run of the gamut from just who got to come and who was picked.
Great. Cool. So you you showed up, you went there. Let's just start with a very high level, both of you individually. What was your overarching impression? Your sort of, you walked out at the end of the 2 days. How did you feel about the experience?
It was so fun and so exhausting. I mean, I had several colleagues there and several friends, and you know, you go to these media events and there's often a lot of new people that you've never met before, and then there's people that you do see, and you know, all of us, we would kind of pass each other in the hallways on the ship and just be like, hi, and we were like, we couldn't even get to like say hi, or I don't even have a full family photo of the four of us, except for on Batuu,
which is a rarity.
Except for like on Batuu, where there were, you know, Disney PhotoPass photographers. It was constant and in the best way possible. I mean, it was there's our family photo. It was so much fun, but so busy and immersive. And so when I got off, you know, Andrew had come from work and kind of met us there at like the spaceport, and he took the kids home, and I had some more media interviews and stuff to do that day, and I had like 10 minutes to drive from like, you know, the cruise to the Contemporary where they did our interviews, and I just felt like overwhelmed, and I had to just sit and be like, okay, what did I just experience, and what do I want to ask these amazing Imagineers? And Lucasfilm was there, and all of these people. You know, it was I can't even explain just how high volume, constant, didn't get a break. I said in my story, I didn't wash my hair. I'm not kidding. I didn't wash my hair. And I already said in the beginning of this, I'm that person that says, like, in the middle of your Disney day, take a break, get a shower, curl your hair, put on a dress, feel like a human. No time for that. I mean, it was, if you blinked, you'd miss it. And I knew that. So we just ran it ragged. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, very similar. It was really amazing because right from the moment you walk in the door, you like hit the ground running. So you're someone that really likes escape rooms and murder mystery parties. You're just going to have the time of your life. And you know, I'm sure you guys, like you said, you're super big Star Wars nerds, and like there might be things you might nitpick, but you're going so fast and there's so much content, and you're just staring at your data pad like, are they going to message me? You know, is this person going to talk to me or not? I mean, it's so engaging. And for me, the best part of it was our daughter, Kennedy, she could care less about Star Wars, has never even sat through any of the movies of any substance whatsoever. Once she realized she'd be part of the bad guys, when the rest of the family was the good guys, she was totally into it, and she had a blast. And she was so into it, and she was chasing down the bad guys and helping them and doing this and that. And, you know, I think my takeaway was, for the right person that has a bigger pocketbook than maybe we do, it is an awesome experience for sure.
So as a Star Wars fan and a father, because that's where I'm at, right? And this is where, you know, I'm taking my son, my 9-year-old son, and my 75-year-old father to Star Wars Celebration in May. How was it? How was the experience for you as you know, like you said, I mean, look, there's people who have a clear problem with their Star Wars collection like I do. And then there's really strong fans like you. Like, tell me what that was like. Did you have trouble? Like, was there ever a time where you were kind of like, you know, I kind of want to have this little Star Wars thing for me and the kids can go do their thing? Or how did that go for you?
Yeah,
You left us to go to the sabacc table.
Yeah,
he was in a big sabacc tournament.
Man, I made it past round one. I'm so proud of myself.
One, Riley. Yeah. Riley, if you're watching.
Yeah. But from a dad perspective, it is tough to get alone time, and we had to be really intentional. I'm gonna go do the sabacc table for a minute, but I'll tell you what, seeing the joy in my son and my daughter and my wife, everybody having fun, and we're not huge Star Wars fans, but I got a cool Star Wars t-shirt on that my wife bought for me. But other than that, we're not massive fans. But it would be a little difficult to get those special times, but they are built in a little bit. You just got to be really intentional with them. And I think as more of the people that come out and share what's going on and what's happening, you'll be able to find those respites where you can sneak off and hang out at the sabacc table or go down to the sublight lounge and have a cocktail, you know, all fancy and dressed up and bubbling kind of thing. But a 9-year-old son, man, he is going to be over the moon.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. Nick, did you? Yeah,
I was going to say a couple of things that stood out. And first of all, speaking of cocktails, since you just said that, we do have a very important question in the chat. And on Friday nights, we pride ourselves on having a drink, having a Star Wars conversation. So Adam wants to know, what are you both drinking? Is that a Star Cruiser drink that you have right
Adam,
now?
I wish it was. We had tried to make, and it's actually still here. We tried to make blue wine because blue wine was kind of my jam on board in the sublight lounge and at dinner. It started dyeing our mouths blue. You can't do it at home. So instead we went to tequila.
Well,
Nice.
nothing wrong with that.
It's at least brown, so
That's right. Can't go wrong. I would love to know, kind of from an experience standpoint, and I think you both have something to add to this, both as a Star Wars fan, as a not Star Wars fan.
Hey, I'm becoming one.
Becoming, that's fine. There's levels. That's our thing. There's levels. There's no gatekeeping, just levels of, you know, again, I clearly have a problem, and my wife goes, "What's that thing again?" So everybody has a level. But the immersive nature of this whole experience, I would love to hear both of your feedback about. Is there any point when you like, does it truly make you feel like you're on a spaceship, you're in another place, or do you have little moments? I laugh at the box truck thing because that is kind of funny. You know, is there a point where it ever takes you out of it? Because what we know about Imagineers and Disney and the depth that they put into that kind of stuff, it's very easy to believe that you could spend 2 days truly feeling like you went somewhere else. And I would love to hear both of your, you know, feelings and feedbacks about that.
I think you do. You feel here's what I say. If you're going to spend $6,000 for a trip, why would you go into it being critical? Why would you go into it being like, oh, I've seen a bunch of stuff today about like the lightsaber battle and Rey, and she had the cool lightsaber that the lightsaber shoots up, but then you could see, and I didn't see it in the moment, but on video, you can see that she switches and picks up the fighting lightsaber. Why would you pick that apart? Why wouldn't you be like, this is incredible, and I'm spending all this money, and I'm going to get my $6,000 worth? I would. So, but even so, I think I got on and off the ship thinking I'd been in space. I mean, it was incredible, and it's so interactive. And I have a friend a colleague that lives here too, and she's joked about like going to Disney with her kids, and I always laugh because one time she said something to me like, I told my 6-year-old, we're not going to wait in that line to meet Pluto. That's a high schooler making minimum wage. And I was like, why don't you tell your kid that? You know that. You get on there and you know this guy isn't a lieutenant in the First Order, and you know that Gaya isn't a galactic pop star. But you let yourself believe it. And in those moments, oh my gosh, she is. There's the alien, I can't think of her name, the keyboardist. Everyone's like obsessed with her today. She was so good. But like she has this like voice box in, and when she talks to you, she makes no sense and it's all gibberish. And and I talked right back to her. Like, I didn't think like that's a 20-year-old in an alien mask. So like you can't do that. You've got to go in and just say like, this is so freaking cool. And the Imagineers, like you said, have made this experience that, why would you spend that money and go into it to say like, I can't wait to go rip this apart every single day. I'm going to say that's fake, that's fake, that's fake. That's silly. I don't get it. I mean, go have fun. And I really did feel immersed. And this is my job. I'm a journalist. I do this. I pick it apart. I go experience this stuff. And I got in there and was like a kid. I mean, I felt like I was 6. I was having so much fun. So I don't know and I think you felt that way too, right?
Yeah. So there were probably 3 things for me that helped that immersion, right? The first time your data pad, your cell phone, right? First time your data pad matches up with what's going on in the room and around you and the characters around you, you're like, holy crap, this thing's real. This is so, how are they pulling this off? I mean, there's got to be a little bit of AI going on in the algorithms, and oh man, it's very cool. The other piece for me was the food. We're big foodies. We love eating food all the time. And The food I thought was awesome.
blue shrimp.
That blue shrimp is scary as anything, but it was delicious. I really enjoyed it, and I'm a pretty, at least I think, a savvy eater. But it was so good, and it made you feel like you're in the middle of space, like you're, it really did, and it was so good. And I thought, even just for me, the buffet they had at lunchtime and at breakfast, that was some of the best food. It was just, but it's so immersive. It gave you this idea like you're not on Earth. Even the kids menu, right? When they brought out the younglings menu, it's not just your normal chicken nuggets and fries. It was cool looking stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the third one,
even the cheese pizza. Sorry, but the cheese pizza. Do you remember who it was that she told our son?
I don't remember.
Again, not a Star Wars super versed in the lingo, but there were little tiny cheese pizzas, and he's 13, but a very picky eater.
Right.
And so she brought it out, and they're just so in character. And she said, like, oh, I know this is a tiny pizza, but this pizza oven was created by a blah, blah, blah. I don't remember. And he's super tiny. So these pizzas are his size. So Bennett ended up, our son's name is Bennett. He ended up eating like 3 pizzas because she kept being like, remember, they're this alien size pizza. I mean, they're just it was so good. Go on, food, sorry.
No. So my last one
We're excited. We had fun.
You've been on a cruise ship before, right? And you get off the cruise ship and you go on to some crazy place like Jamaica, right? You get off the cruise ship and someplace you've never been before. When you get off that transport, the white box truck, when you get off that transport and you walk into Batuu and it's totally packed there, you get that same rush. It helps with that immersion so much. You're like, there's a ton of people here. Where in the world are we? Because you're watching your data pad because you're waiting for someone to answer you back on part of the mission going on, and you're like, oh my gosh, we're in the middle of Batuu, and you've got the people walking around. So it was neat. And now it broke in some places, right? And that's probably part of why test crews are trying to get some of that stuff. A couple times my data pad sort of went sideways, but that's okay. That's part of the test.
Yeah.
And, I think it I was telling him today, like on any sailing, there's always going to be people that maybe something doesn't work on their app or something like that. Like that's just technology. And everybody's like, oh, for this much money, they should do it better. But you can't control everything. And so I think you've got to go into it with you got to get out of that headspace of, the criticism. Yeah. I already want to go back. I already want to pause it down.
So, I mean, I think the big question is, so I threw up a poll before we went on, and I'll share it. I'll try to share the screen here because I think it kind of fits with what you're saying there. And that is, I asked people if they were planning to go, and let's see what they said here. I'm using technology very poorly, but I'm just doing the best I can here. So
your data pad went sideways.
My data pad is not working so well, right? So we asked people, would you like to visit the Star Cruiser? And I was very careful because I wanted to make sure that people didn't think I was going to pay for it, because I'm not going to pay for somebody else. But 48% are saying it's too expensive, and I mean, let's face it, at those prices, yes, absolutely, it's too expensive for most people, and but this is, I have to imagine what Disney is banking on is that 36% of the people that we asked said, I'm going to one day I'm going to go there. So for you, as somebody who Terri, you cover these kind of things, how would you rank it as an experience? And how would you, we were talking about it is for $6,000 you can go to Spain for a week. You could go on a real cruise and see a lot of things. Where would you put this in sort of that sort of vacation sort of matrix? And is it worth it? And to what kind of person do you think?
So is it worth it? I think is impossible to answer.
Yeah.
That's something that, I think all of us, especially my journalist colleagues, want to answer for people, but I can't. So it's, to your credit, what you just said, and I was saying to Andrew earlier, you can go to the Turks and Caicos probably to an all-inclusive for that much money for like a 4-night thing, right? It's what you value. So if your family loves Star Wars, or your family loves Disney, or it's going to drive you crazy not to know, no, I mean, it's, I can't tell you if it's worth it or not. It was really cool. I'd like to go back. It was fun. It was busy and engaging, and the characters, I just let myself get lost in it, and I thought it was really great. But it depends on what matters to you. If you want to go to a spa in Orlando and get a bunch of treatments and go out to a bunch of like really great restaurants and stay at the Ritz-Carlton, that's what you value. So it's impossible to say, you know, it's if it's going to eat you up at night, not knowing what's going on, then you probably should go. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the answer is.
Well, I think it was interesting that you said, you know, again, you set yourself up as, you know, you're not a sweaty Star Wars nerd, but you went and you had a great experience and you want to go back. I think that says a lot about the experience.
It was all the things I love. I mean, it was delicious food. It was a really fun bar. The bartenders were, I mean, I can't even, the bartenders, you know, and I kind of talked when I went for my interviews, you know, after the event, I was talking to an Imagineer and I said, wow, like these bartenders were so on point with their story. I mean, we had a girl that her name was Keely, and she said, you know, I'm a recovering sabacc addict and I can't go to Batuu because I owe a lot of credits, and in her story. And then she's like, I'll teach you how to play, but like, I've got to be careful because I go to meetings, and like, she wouldn't break from like that character. And, you know, I was talking to an Imagineer about it, and I said, I've never seen like kind of these uniformed park working cast members be actors and be that into it. And, you know, he said, well, you know, you've got places like 50s Primetime Cafe at Hollywood Studios where those servers treat you like you're in grandma's kitchen and like, you know, in the 50s. And, you know, you've got the Haunted Mansion, right? And you've got Tower of Terror at Hollywood Studios. You've got these places where the cast members have kind of developed that culture of like, this is real. And that's how everyone you meet is. The cleaning, you know, this is the housekeeping. Everybody was like,
great journey.
Oh, great journeys. It's my honor instead of thank you. I mean, everything was, but they've all developed themselves these really great backstories that you just believe that they are people that work on a galactic cruise ship. And they have these stories about these planets and these characters and these interactions. So, you know, I don't know. It just, you're not going to get that everywhere. I mean, I think you felt the same way, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So how many people were on the ship? Like, because I'm buying into it all anyway, right? And I'm not even there, but I'm like, how many people? Yeah. So how many people were there?
367. And the reason I know that is that your room droid in the beginning that you talk to in your room is like, oh, blah, 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 these passengers. I knew one of the 367 of you. And so they must tell you like immediately who, but I know each ship, there's 100 cabins on the ship and each cabin holds 4 or 5. Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking, what, 400? No.
400 to 500, yeah.
Max. I mean, and so that's another thing is it's very boutique-y. It reminds me kind of, I always say Disneyland is like a very boutique-y experience for Disney lovers. So maybe this is a very boutique-y experience for Star Wars lovers.
It's almost intimate, right? I mean, that was the thing I took away. Like, even when you're in the atrium and it's filled with people, there's still not that many people there. When you're used to the throngs at Disney, you know, that there's 1 million people right in the parks or whatever. But nowhere did I feel like I was overwhelmed by people. So it was nice spacing, and certainly people could and did wear masks if they wanted to. You know, we didn't, but never did we feel like it was overwhelmed with people just breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
You get to Batuu, and that's a different story.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nick, did you want to throw anything else in there?
Well, I was just trying to do the math as you're talking about the numbers and how many rooms and people, and you know, if we're talking, if the $6,000 is per room, and they're turning that over every 2 days, you're talking about $600,000 every 2 days. And
hey, I don't pretend to. I mean, I bow down to their money making.
Yeah, no. I'm simply saying. Yeah, that's not a shot. That's me simply saying.
Like I mean, I was just looking because I would like to go again, and I was in August, and it looks like it's like boarding day, and then there's like the day that's Batuu, and that middle day, and then departure day, and then the next day it's like the same thing over and over and over and over. I mean, they are, yeah.
You know, so
and I think
go ahead. Here's a rumor, or I'd like to start. I can imagine them doing this for 2 to 3 months, right? To get all these crazy over the top nerd people in, right?
Yes.
We get the money, right? And then after that, all right, we'll take it back down to 3,500.
Zero chance. Sorry, guys, I don't believe that.
But let's start that rumor.
Well, that's fine. We'll start. We'll say you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Right.
And me mentioning that is not a means of taking a shot at Disney, because the reality is Disney knows what they're doing, and they have known what they've been doing since the first park opened. Like, it started with Walt Disney. It continues to this day. And that's part of what I love about it, because even something that I may or may not do, I'm fascinated by it and I want to know everything about it. And I'm ready for, the gallery episodes on Disney Plus that they add to the theme park section, where they show you how they made it and they show you, all that other cool stuff. But the reality is they didn't do this on a lark hoping people would show up and pay this money for it. They did it because they know their business and they know what they're doing. And, I'm sure there were somebody outraged when Disney World opened the first time because they thought it was too expensive, or why do I have to go there and pretend like that's real life? Right. People are just going to be mad about stuff. That's what people do. Yeah. But thinking about it and just seeing, like reading your article, Terry, I loved seeing so many of the different things in there, talking about the food, talking about the gamification of so much of it, being on the bridge and shooting at the ships, the lightsaber stuff. Like, there's so many ways. And honestly, I think if there was one thing that I personally would dislike about it, would be the fast-paced nature of it, because I would want to go sit in the bar for a couple of hours and just look at all the stuff that's there and have some drinks and then wander the lobby and look at all the little details. And, that hectic itinerary version of it, I think, could be, for me, the big downside.
And maybe you could do that after hours, but you're running full tilt to 10 o'clock every night. So,
we were so tired.
But you might be able to do that
passed out.
from 10 o'clock to, I don't know, we were exhausted, we passed out.
Yeah.
Right. and we did find that time. I mean, there was a joke with some of my friends. I had texted them and said, Andrew's headed to the sabacc table again. He's a sabacc shark and all of this. But it wasn't that there was an abundance of time to do that. It was almost like he made that time, because I laid in bed during that. I was flat, passed out during that hour, and he was, in this. Someone asked, how long is the Batuu portion of the cruise? So it's a couple of hours. And it was interesting. I think you can get off of the ship at 8:20 in the morning, but we had a reservation for Oga's Cantina at 2:10, and so we decided zero chance we need that much time in Batuu. And you're certainly able to leave and go to other parts of Hollywood Studios, and maybe if you weren't from Florida and maybe if you weren't a pass holder and always there, maybe you'd want to do that. But we really wanted to stick true to that story, and so we did not leave Batuu. Some of my colleagues did, and so we didn't want to, and we tried to kind of time it, and we even got our timing off. I think you maybe need 2 or 3 hours to get done what shows up on your data pattern, without a lot of spoilers. There were 3 main things, and one thing involved Oga's Cantina, and one thing involved, Smuggler's Run, and one thing involved Rise of the Resistance. And so we kind of all ended up with missions for that, which was neat, because regardless of what side we were on, we all had to go there. And so our family kind of split up and said, or split the tasks up and said, we're going to go do Rise, and then we're going to go get on Smugglers, and then we have Oga's Cantina. We still had an hour in the middle to kill. So I think if you don't want to leave Batuu, you really only need about 3 hours. You do have, I think, from 8:20 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. But I can't imagine what you would do that long, because you only get 45 minutes in a reservation at Oga's to drink. They kick you out. So I don't know what you would do for 8 hours.
But if you were someone who had never been to Galaxy's Edge, and the first time you saw Batuu was on this Star Cruiser event, I was thinking, I was envious for people.
Yeah, you get excited.
You'd be like, oh man, it would be amazing. And you'd be the first pod, to go down to Batuu, and you'd experience it. And you could really get your money's worth.
Yeah, but I would say if you're booking it, book it around that Oga's experience and book yourself 3 or 4 hours, max, because we ended up, although, inside the port, we laughed, because I was trying to add up in my head all the time, if we came a family of 4, to Disney, and we stayed in a deluxe resort because there were a lot of deluxe feelings, you know, to the ship. And we ate out, you know, 3 meals a day, and we bought every little bottled water that a kid was thirsty, and the popcorn, and we bought a park ticket to Hollywood Studios, and we did Lightning Lane, and we did Lightning Lane Plus, and we got on Rise of the Resistance. I mean, would it equal out? I think it almost would. I really do.
Yeah.
I did not break that down for my story because I was way over my word limit as is to say. But I would love to go back and look at that because I almost think it would even out.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that I got totally sidetracked and I'm looking at you and I don't know what I was talking about.
Well, do you think, I mean, so the first question that I'll ask related to that is, do you get special access to Smuggler's Run and to Rise of the Resistance?
I remembered what I was talking about. Hold on.
Okay, I'll hold that thought.
Okay, so no, what I was going to say is, you know, in all of that, we had that hour and we went at the port. You can sneak back into the port at any time. Andrew's data pad ran out, his phone, and they had chargers for him because it was easier than sending them back, you know, to the ship. And then, you know, they gave us as much as you wanted, the little Galaxy's Edge emblazoned Dasani waters. And those are like $5 a piece. I think we drank like 8 of them. So like, I was really adding all that up in my head, you know, and they give you cold towels to cool down. So we really did go in there and chill out and calm down for a minute. And that was just kind of what I was going to say. So, okay, cool. Moving on.
So you do get special access to.
You get a one-time loaded into your My Disney Experience ride on Smuggler's Run and on Rise of the Resistance. So those are part of what you have to do. And the crazy thing for us was, you know, we opened Galaxy's Edge. You know, I was there as a journalist back when it first opened and covered it, and we have been 10 billion times. I don't even know. And so it was a totally different experience with this cruise. All the rides made sense. You know, the opening of Rise of the Resistance, like what Ray says, we were just like, oh, you know, like, and then Smuggler's Run, you realize who you've been getting coaxium for, and you know, the coaxium goes back up to the ship, and it all just, it's crazy.
Fills in a lot of gaps. Yeah.
That's really neat.
And one neat spoiler that we'll give is when you do Smuggler's Run, they know that you're on the Star Cruiser, right? So you get a special video that for the Star Cruiser people. So they have a little video from Hondo. So keep an eye out for that. Those
That's great. See, now I forgot what my second question was going to be. But
I get so excited. I get such a full on. And again, for someone who, I always feel like that gives me some kind of street cred as someone that like, I hated Disney. I would have burned it down the first time we went. And then I came back as a journalist and I realized it's not that you hated it. It's just that like, are there death sticks available? I don't know what death sticks are, Michael. But I like it.
That's a Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan moment.
But yeah, I just think that like for me, I just realized there's just a way to do it, that it doesn't have to be stressful and awful. And this was busy, but it wasn't stressful and awful. It was super fun. It's a super unique one-time only. Yeah. Although I want to go back experience for my birthday. I'm trying to get him to take me for my birthday.
See, there you go. Well, and with the excitement of it, Adam asked another good question. Did you feel like it was hard to sleep at night being around something that was this epic and this involved?
Adam, I passed out.
Exhausted.
I was so tired. I passed out. I mean, we got in bed and like I usually listen to like sleep story. I have this whole process like sleep stories and white noise and you know Tylenol PM and no, I passed out. I mean, I was worn out.
That's wild. And it's an experience that's like yeah, I mean, do you feel like, would you say maybe it's like too much going on? Do you feel, I mean, because if you're paying, the way I look at it, the way I figure it is for $6,000 or whatever the price is, you're going to want to make sure that every second counts. Yeah. But do you ever feel like it's like, okay, like Nick was saying, I'd like to sit at the bar for a couple hours, but do you feel sort of stressed by it, or?
I don't know. And that's something I really can't figure out. And it's part of the reason I want to go back. Is I don't know. No, don't laugh.
Every time you say that, Andrew's like, yeah, no.
It's just a work trip. We're going to write this one off.
If I was as stressed out as I was because I was working, or if it's that busy. And that's something, you know, I know we kind of talked about this a little bit, you know, over chat on Twitter, but there's a lot of criticism of like, oh, well, you got to go for free. Well, I wore myself out. Like, it was work. It was not, you know, when I'm on those trips, I'm like trying to gather every bit of information, and I'm doing interviews and I'm taking notes and I'm passing out at night because I'm so tired. So I almost want to go back and experience it like in a pedestrian sense where I'm not like, I have this responsibility, because I knew going into it, everyone's going to want to know if it's worth it. And I still can't answer that. I don't know.
Right.
Depends on what you're into.
I think the answer is, I think you can dial it back with the data pad. So if you want to take a little bit of a break, I think you could. And you could say, you know, all right, I got my meetup at 7:15, but you know, it's 5 o'clock now. But you can also absorb yourself completely in the data pad. But I think there are moments you can grab in between there if you wanted to.
My daughter wants to tell you guys about her experience.
Let's definitely hear it. There's the target audience. So you're not a Star Wars fan by trade.
Kennedy loved being a bad guy. She was just so into it. And her and the First Order Lieutenant.
He was so nice.
Oh, they were not nice, but
he was. He was nice to me.
So I mean, I don't know if you want to ask a kid what they thought, but like, she does not like Star Wars and loved it.
So you're not a big Star Wars fan. So what did you, before you tell me what you thought when you were there, what did you think you were going to go and do? Were you looking forward to it, or are you like, it's Star Wars?
Me and my friend had a sleepover before that, and we were talking about how lame it was going to be. And you could come sleep at my house, and then you can just come to school with me instead of going.
Are you glad you went?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
there you go.
And so what did you walk away with? Did it change your opinion of Star Wars, or was it just a fun thing to do?
It didn't change my opinion on Star Wars.
Dad's not happy, but yeah, all right, well.
But so like, tell me, like, you know, I know you did a lot of like getaways with Lieutenant Croy, where, you know, there's all these things where you do this mission and then you meet him, and then you have your magic band, but it's your data band, and like then he dings these special coordinates into your magic band that you get to go get into a secret room. And is that what you liked? Is all the like intrigue?
Yeah.
I like the guy. The guy was like, everyone was good actors. And that's what I liked.
Yeah.
See?
In fact, I think you had another friend on the cruise where he came out and said, listen, I don't know anything about Star Wars, and I'm having the time of my life. I'm having a blast, right? So I think it had to be the right personality for people. Again, if you like escape rooms, if you like murder mystery parties, you're gonna have a blast.
Did you feel it was like we did a murder mystery party a couple months ago. Did you feel like it was like that? Like a whodunit?
Kind of.
Yeah.
A little.
What do you think that kids should do it? Think parents should take their kids?
I feel like I'm the youngest that should be on there.
She's 11.
I'm 11. But like, I feel like kids younger than me, and even kids like my age, it's probably going to be hard for them, and like, they won't enjoy it as much for $6,000.
Whoa.
Whoa. Are you watching Disney? Because
and you know, I did in one of my interviews, I was like, so tell me, like, I saw some parents kind of come in, and they do such an excellent job planning it for you. And so I was unaware that there was like this sub Star Cruiser going on for like young kids. And so I kind of had said in my interviews with the Imagineers, like, at what age should they do lightsaber training? Because, you know, I don't know if you remember, a dad came in during ours and said, she's not here for the lightsaber training. She's just going to sit in the back. And so I didn't even know that was a thing. And so they said 7 and up for all of the like events. But we had some kids with us, like in the bridge training, that our team didn't do as well because there were kids, and we're very competitive. So we were. But their kids were great. They were very cute, but they had little benches for them to climb up on. But in lightsaber training, they can't go. But then they have this thing called the Loft Cat Fan Club. And it's like they all the kids get to go, and it's like they can't read. They don't have a data pad. They don't have the phone, you know. They're little kids, so they get to follow their own story. And then they get a junior youngling Jedi training in the morning on the long day, which I didn't know. And the Imagineer I interviewed told me that it gets loaded into like based on the ages of your kids you put in, like all of the magic of Disney planning. You just get those things scheduled into your itinerary if you have a little. But I didn't have.
I wanted to go to the Loft Cat.
Yeah. All right, Ken. Bye, girl.
Good night.
Thanks. Great to hear from you. That's really cool. So
She
we got,
really liked it. I was surprised.
but I mean, I think that's one of the things I always remember when I took my kids to Disney for the first time. My son was like, I think he was 2, and my
Mhm.
daughter was 5. And I had a friend because I was like, I'm gonna wait till they're the right age. You were saying it before, that everybody feels like but there's always something. That's one of the things that Disney does incredibly well. Is doesn't matter if you're, you're the grandparents that are bringing the kids or the toddler. There's something to make it interesting, and it's great that your daughter, who wasn't even a fan, found some interest in it, which I think also might speak to why look, if we're being honest, the loud voices on social media that are complaining are they're looking for this to be an experience like straight from the movie and straight from the book. And I think what people forget, and I've said this multiple times in different ways, is that Disney is trying to reach the masses. They're not trying to reach they're trying to reach, but they're not focused on that 10% at this end of the curve that is, so steeped in all the lore that, like you were saying, no, there's no way that droid would have a red stripe there because blah blah blah. But they need to hit your daughter, they need to hit you guys and make you interested. And it sounds to me like it was a great experience, right down to your daughter, who's like, this is gonna suck, but still had a great time.
Planning a secret sleepover to get
That's
out.
right.
You didn't know.
She was actually, I think we buried the lead here. She was considering going to school instead of going to do
The
this.
best part is we homeschool, so she's considering going to school.
But now it's becoming pretty clear why she wanted to like work for the First Order. She's like, she's a little nefarious, that daughter of yours. So
Always, every day, nefarious to the max. So.
there were a couple questions about Gaia, but before we go there, you had sent me a quick video. If you don't mind, I'm going to play it real quick just so people can see what everybody's talking about.
That's actually me clapping in the background.
Like the head.
Look, Gaya was a hoot. I mean, so much fun.
See, now I look at that, and again, I just sweaty nerd, masks, helmets behind me, just very into all the detail. Watched Book of Boba Fett, saw the Twi'leks there. That works. That was like, I mean, that was immersive right there. As far as I'm concerned, there was a Twi'lek pop star hanging out with you guys.
I mean, how spoiler do you want to go?
Go as spoiler as you want at this point. We have the thing running along the bottom.
We've got the warning going. We're fine.
Guys, spoiler. So Gaya.
Well, don't give too much away. He's gonna go in a couple weeks.
Okay. Gaya has a. I don't want to say too much. Gaya has a reason that she's on this ship. It's a very small ship. She usually only performs to full stadiums full of people. She's a galactic pop star, you guys.
Right.
And so a lot of the messages you get from several people in those opening moments of the night are, why is Gaya even here? Like, she never performs at stuff like this. We have to figure this out. And then you find out that she has a big reason for being there. And so does her manager, Rafe Cole. He's a little shady too. I mean, and you get very immersed in her story. So even like while that dinner show is rolling out, I think I sent you a picture. You're getting like past notes from like somebody. Right. Still don't know who. That's like, this is, there it is. And it's like, it was 2 of 3. So we had to go to other people and be like, did you get a note at dinner? Like, is it 1 of 3? Is it 3 of 3? And you put this all together and you realize that she's a big part of something that's happening. And so she's not just there to like sing to you and make you feel good. She's got her own agenda, and everybody has that depth of character, which is really cool. So like, I saw a lot of criticism where people are like, oh, this is like an awkward dinner show and all of this stuff, but it's not. It's just part of the story. It fits in.
Well, look, and to your point earlier, which I think is so important, and Nick was saying it too, if you're going to go and immediately call this an awkward murder mystery dinner. Don't go. Don't spend your money for it. I would think,
not
right?
the right target market. If you're gonna
Right.
go and be pissed, don't go.
Right. Or unless you have enough money to just throw away $6,000 to be angry, and
Right.
that's a world I don't understand at all.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Good thing Kennedy went to bed, because Kennedy was not a fan of Gaia. She said she was too loud.
Just too loud. That was all. She was just like and maybe that's another question is like, I know in a parenting world, do you have kids that have sensory issues or that kind of thing? There is a lot of like chaos and loudness. And I did not investigate. Is there a way to mitigate that, handle that? I don't know.
Interesting. So now you were saying before that you had gone in a very early testing phase. It's clearly a week away from launching. Do you feel like there's anything that you would recommend that they improve, or that you feel, I mean, again, having been a Disney park expert and journalist for so long, are there things that you saw that you think are on their way to being improved, or what are your thoughts?
I mean, obviously there are some teeny like technical tweaks with the app and stuff to work out. I wonder, and I don't know, I mean, this is just, shooting the breeze, but like, I wonder, will they ever say this could be a 3-night event, because it's so much to fit into 2 nights and everyone's losing their minds running around. I don't know. I would love to see it become that, because you're right. You guys were saying like it would be so nice to have a night to just like hang out in the lounge and not feel like you're missing something. But I mean,
the other thing
he's an engineer. Let my engineer take this. My engineer and my critical dad.
The other thing that I thought too was that, so when you get to Batuu, right, they've got like lunch loaded onto your data pad, but it's at the base 7 thing, and it's just chaos at lunchtime. Walking base 7, it's chaos at lunchtime. And if I'm that guy that's on the border of, I just paid $6,000 and I've got to stand in a line for 20 minutes to get my lunch, I'm thinking, what did I spend this money on? So I think they've maybe got to tweak something there, give them a different line to get in, or I don't know. Something's got to be better there. And like you said, the data pad and the lunch were really the only things that I saw that needed to get tweaked. From that standpoint, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
The floor is really bizarre. Like the floor in the hallways, like back to your cabins, they actually have to clean it with a lint roller.
Oh, I didn't see that at all. The floor is like foam. The floor is
so
foam.
weird.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really.
It's gonna last. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you reminded me of what my question was, and I think you kind of answered it. Is, do you think that this was too much put into 2 days? Do you think it would be a better experience? And do you think it would? I mean, obviously, we talked about nobody can make decisions for people as to what they think it's worth. But would it be worth to pay a little bit more to get an extra day to kind of extend it? Did it feel like it ended too soon? Did it?
I almost feel if you went to 3 days and kept the price, I know it's not going to happen. If you went to 3 nights,
it goes with your $3,500 roomer, though, perfectly.
That's right.
I think if you could do that, because I think you're right. If you could spend a night like Sublight Lounge is really the only place you'd want to go hang out for any length of time. I mean, the atrium's nice, but another night would be nice.
Another night would be nice, but I don't even know if it's necessary. It just might be that the ship is really cool and we would have liked to be on it longer. I think, I mentioned earlier that I thought Disney Food Blog's video that she just produced was so great. And watching it tonight, she said it's like an escape room meets a murder mystery party meets
a video game.
Video game. Yeah. And I was like, that is so on point. So like, you're not paying to go sit on the Disney Cruise Line, right? You're not paying to go to Castaway Cay. You're paying for this like immersive, crazy murder mystery party, whodunit Star Wars party. And so I don't know I would love to have another night on the ship, but maybe it's that they ended all that one night and then you get the whole next day to just hang out on the ship and you leave at night. Or something. I don't know. But then they'd be rolling a bunch of drunk people off the boat at 4 o'clock or something. So I don't know.
I was going to say, the downside for me having the extra day to just hang out in the bar is that it might become that. Roll me down the lint roller hallway back to my bunk.
Yeah. And it's almost like a Disney character dining event for 48 straight hours.
That was the other thing is when I was talking about like weighing out what things cost, like I said earlier, Andrew was saying, so like the Gaya Pop Star night was almost like character dining, like the
Mm-hmm.
stormtrooper I think came through, and there was, you know, like the Twi'lek guitarist, and there was the piano player, and you know, there was just all this stuff. And Chewie came through. I forgot Chewie came through the dining room. Everybody was hiding him, and he came through. It was nuts. And so that was kind of character dining. And then the next night was this flavors from around the galaxy dining experience, and you know, it was all different planets and what they would eat on that planet. It was like this guided chef's tasting. So like, I don't know, do you go like Victoria and Albert's or something really fancy at Disney where you have those like plated, very high-end experiences? Do you weigh all that out? And then, I don't know. I mean, I think eventually we all know how expensive a Disney vacation is. Does it start to equal out when you start? And I'm still on the 8 free waters I got in Batuu. I mean,
I'm sorry, Nick. I feel like I'm asking all the questions here, but
No, you're fine.
I guess my last question might be: do you think part of the marketing challenge, right? Because there was the video that came out at the end of last year, which silently
I never saw that
disappeared.
video.
It was.
I know.
It didn't excite me, but on the other hand, I'm like, give me Star Wars, right? So, I need a shirt that says "shill," and I'll be fine. The question that I was going to ask you about it was, geez, wow, I forgot it again. I might have forgotten it again.
I love this. I forget you. This is like,
That's right.
You know what? We're just so excited about the Star
Here's
Wars
another
experience.
one from Adam. Adam's
Okay,
been full
good.
of questions tonight. Are there any spoilers in the
Ooh, yeah.
signature alcoholic drinks?
Well, I've got a pro tip.
Oh,
Here's my
Andrew has a pro tip. But
Oh, pro tip, good.
So all the drinks are pre-mixed, and that is, I mean,
Yeah.
that is like a ton of cranberry juice and a little bit of vodka, and they mix it up in a big pitcher and they dump it in. It's not,
Gotcha.
and the drinks are expensive, right? I mean, you're talking
Right.
probably higher end, like $18, $20
Yeah.
cocktails. And so we asked right away, like, are these pre-mixed? And then we started being like, well, what else can we order?
Exactly.
If you're going to spend that much to drink at Disney, like, you need to get
Yeah.
your Disney buzz, right? And so there were a lot of notes on the menu about, you know, you can also ask for any spirits that are on your home planet. And when I did my interviews with the food and beverage team, they were very clear that like, if there's something that you want, you can ask for it. And so I think the key is stick to wine, stick to beer, stick to your Jack and Coke. Maybe
Right.
don't dabble. I mean, there were some really good ones. Like, what was the Huntress was one.
Mhm.
I forget what was in it. There was one that was like a Space Manhattan, but all of them were so sugary and
Yeah.
pre-mixed. And you know, in both in the dining room and in the lounge, Andrew was like, "So are the drinks pre-mixed?" Like, we really needed to know, and I'm sure we were on some kind of watch list. But but he has a great pro tip.
All right, but the pro tip, you guys are brown liquor drinkers, so they've got Buffalo Trace on one of those little shooter things, right? So
Okay.
if you say you want Buffalo Trace, they've got a little shooter thing right in the glass, and it's cheaper than any other cocktails on the
It was
menu.
like $11.
Yeah, and then
Oh,
you can
that's-
fill it up for another
$2 more.
Yeah.
That's
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
I love it.
So once we realized all of that on the second night, and that's when the party got started. So
There you go.
But,
So
you know,
I remember. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I noticed a lot of other people got tired of the pre-mixed, and so the second night they were making a lot more drinks behind the bar.
yeah, it's just that
interesting.
sugary. And I don't think any of us that like appreciate like a good craft cocktail or anything
Correct.
like that, we don't want all the sugar, right? So
Absolutely.
you remembered your question.
Yes, I did. Do you think that part of the challenge might be is that it has been marketed as the Disney Star Wars Hotel?
Yes. Oh my God, it burns me up in my heart.
Yeah.
So
because
I told you at the beginning of this that back in November, I was chosen as one of very few, I think it was like maybe 6 to 10 journalists. And we got to go and do this whole like panel interview with all the Imagineers, like maybe 10 Imagineers that had, you know, worked on this thing. And every single one of them emphasized this is not a hotel. It is not a hotel. And that wasn't like a marketing thing. That wasn't them trying to like change the words we use. They were really telling us, guys, this isn't a hotel. And,
Right.
and a lot of the articles that came out after that were the Star Wars Hotel, the Star Wars Hotel, the Star Wars Hotel. And my first line in my Yahoo article was I'll send you that one too, was like, the thing that Imagineers want you to know about this is that it's not a hotel. I mean, it's really not. And I think that's what's so deceptive is if it's a hotel, you can like leave, come and go. You can order an Instacart order with your, you know, food and drinks. You can go down to the pool and do laundry in some shady side laundry room, or all of these things. That doesn't exist. It is a interactive gaming experience. It is a murder mystery party. It is all of those things rolled into one, and you just happen to sleep there at night.
I think that's it, because I saw somebody posting, and actually somebody DM'd me because they wanted to show me that I was wrong in supporting this as a concept. They should picture the room, and yet for $6,000, the room that you guys stayed in, I would be appalled.
Oh, it's so pretty.
But that's not what you're not paying
not why you
for.
went.
The room and the bunk beds. You are paying for an entire immersive Star Wars experience.
And if we're realistic, when you go on a cruise, you're not paying to stay in that tiny room either. You're paying to go to the pool and the buffet and the deck and shuffleboard and captain's dinners and all the other things. So I love that distinction. It's an experience. It's not a hotel. That's what you're paying for.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, that burns me up, because using a hotel anywhere to describe it, I mean, it's not a hotel.
Yeah.
I've stayed in lots of hotels. I've never stayed
That's not it.
like this.
And I actually think they made that room small on purpose. I really do, to like
It was
force you into this
small.
immersive mentality.
Yeah, it keeps you out.
On a cruise ship, right?
I was losing my mind. I was yelling at everyone. One morning I kicked them out. I did not eat breakfast so that I could be in the room alone, because it was that small. You don't want to be in there. I mean, and I think if you went maybe 2 of us, it would have been okay. But our kids are big. How was the room formatted? What features did you have? No, the room was great. So crazy story. And I'm always learning, and I'm always wrong. I mean, I will never say that I know everything, but this room was 2 bunk beds. It was a queen bed. And when I got home, I read that there was also a fold-out bed that could sleep a 5th person. And I was like, there's 0 chance there was a 5th bed in that room. But I looked at all the pictures, and sure enough, there was like a wall where the TV was, and you could see there was like 2 clips. And I was like, I'll be damned. That is where it clipped down, and that was a 5th bed. But
5 people in there, you would.
Oh my God.
Each other.
I almost killed 3 people. But so there was, obviously that big area that was, the queen bed, and my kids slept in the bunks. But I have seen 6-foot men, fellow journalists, lay down in those bunks. They're very roomy and spacious. I mean, it's not just, they're not 6-year-old sized. And then, there's the bathroom, and we always say there's always a flaw with Disney bathrooms, where we want a hotel where the shower can be closed off, and we can get a shower and not also have the bathroom and the sink and everything, and our kids walking through. This was one of those ones where it was if you were in the shower, you were also in the toilet, you were also in the sink, everything's together. And that, I think, is a flaw. I wish that the shower was sectioned off a little differently. There's a nice little vanity where you can, put makeup on, and, there was cups and a water bottle to fill up downstairs. But I mean, it's small. It's very bare bones. I mean, but again, you don't spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, that's not what you went for.
The other neat thing that I think you mentioned in your article, was that they have chilled sparkling water,
that sparkling water fountain.
It's so good. I mean, that was a nice perk.
It's I didn't even see it until I think the second day, and then I was like, why did I not sit here all day yesterday? I love bubbly water, so.
Yeah, it's good.
And I asked one of the food and beverage team about that, because I was like, tell me why this so there was sparkling chilled water, chilled sparkling water, chilled flat water, and ambient flat, which is room temperature. And so I was like, why? And they said basically, the Halcyon is this high-end luxury star liner, and their passengers are accustomed to having all of these waters that they can have any kind that their heart desires. And so that's why. And I thought it was the coolest touch. I mean, a silly, kind of frivolous thing, but really neat.
I've got a question for you guys. If not, turn us around.
Sure.
So one of the things that Terry was telling me about the background or the history of the Halcyon, that there's supposedly some book coming out about Han and Leia having I don't know. I want to know if they know.
Do you think Kylo Ren was conceived on the Starcruiser?
I'm gonna. Do you want to answer, Nick? Because I have an
This is all you. Go for it.
From what I understand, the actually to that is the story is that he was conceived on the Falcon.
Oh
See,
my!
But
Brought to my
I
parents.
don't know where or why that's been said. I'd rather not. Just
I feel like that's a part of the story we don't necessarily have to enjoy Star Wars.
Yeah, there were some tweets going around like while I was on the ship that like people were saying during play tests, cast members had said that like, oh, Kylo Ren was conceived here. And so my Disney publicist, I reached out to them and said, do you have any confirmation on this? And I'm sure, I mean, this is like, guys, you think journalists aren't doing the hard hitting work? We need to know.
Well,
and so I was
this
like,
isn't
look,
a
I need
fluffy.
to know, is this an official part of the Star Cruiser storyline? And it's not, there was no Disney PR was like, yeah, we can't.
Yeah, the book that's coming out says that they went on the Star Cruiser for their honeymoon, but there's no further
the princess and the
beyond that.
scoundrel.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's nothing beyond just the fact that they went. I don't. And again, we don't need that information. We'll be just fine without it, and we'll enjoy every other Star Wars thing that comes our way. Yeah, it just. Yeah, I think Pete actually is exactly right.
Any last questions, Nick, for our amazing guests? Thank you guys so much for hanging
I
out.
really,
So fun.
I don't think I have any questions. I love hearing your experience. I love hearing your insight. And most of all, I love your perspective. I love that, you want to see it again in a non-work, mode, because I totally get that. We've all done things where, I had to be on for this. Now I get to be off and actually take it in and absorb it. I think that's really neat. You said it at the top of the interview. I love the thing about being so busy and dry shampoo being the MVP of the weekend or the 2 days. As somebody who has a wife and 4 daughters, dry shampoo is the MVP of most things in our life. And again, just to point also to that busyness, as you said, you brought seltzers and wine in your carry-ons.
Oh yeah.
And didn't even get to it because you were, wide open. So I love the perspective that you both have on it. And I love hearing, even hearing from Kennedy and hearing, I thought it was lame and I was considering going to school instead of doing this, but I had a blast. And I think that's what
you did it, right? Yeah.
Well, and that's the core of what Star Wars is, and that's the core of what Disney is. And those two things, obviously, despite all the nonsense that you hear on Twitter, which most of the time isn't real, that's why these two things came together. I say this all the time. When it was announced that Disney was buying Star Wars, the thing that excited me so much about that as a lifelong 43-year-old Star Wars fan is I know Disney does story better than anybody else does.
Yeah.
So whether it's movies, a theme park, a TV show, like it's in the right hands. And so that's what we should take it as. It's a fun story about space wizards. We say it all the time. And it gets also turned into a 2-night, escape room. Awesome. Let's do that. Let's not try to make it something else that it's not. So,
and it's interesting that a lot of the people who want to beat up the Disney ownership go back to the concept and the thing that Kathleen Kennedy said, which was that, Star Wars is for everyone, right? And so people on the fringes are like, it's not for everyone but the reality is, I think from what I hear from you and from what I've read, this is the Star Cruiser is designed for the everyone, the bell curve, right? It's designed for people like, Nick and I always reference our dads when we talk about Book of Boba Fett or whatever show is on that we're talking about. How are they receiving Star Wars?
Yep.
Yes, there is that level. And I've been to Batuu in California, and there are things there for people like me who will recognize an insignia or, a particular weapon on the wall in wherever. Like, oh, I know what that is. You don't. 99% of the people who are walking by are just like, hey, that looks cool. But that's a gift for the people who invest in that. But honestly, if they only created content for that amount of people, they would have to charge a hell of a lot more than $6,000 for this event, right? So, and it was great to hear your perspective on just the way you were able to be immersed in it. And I think you bring up a great point. If you don't want to sort of leave your imagination at the door or your sense of reality at the door and just have fun for 2 nights, don't go. This is not for you, I think, right?
Well, and it's almost silly. And again, Star Wars Twitter is its own thing that cannibalizes itself on a daily basis. So this isn't really a good testing ground. But to use that metric on something like this and say, oh, I'm going to pick it apart, and whatever. 1 million people go to Disney World every day and Disneyland every day, and they don't walk in there going, this isn't a real castle. This isn't a real giant spaceship Earth golf ball. This isn't really, Splash Mountain. Like, we don't do that. We don't do that with all those other things. It's idiotic to think, oh, well, we're going to do it with Star Wars because Star Wars is somehow more special. Like, it's not. It's another thing that people love, whether it's Toy Story Land, whether it's, whatever the thing is. And so let's let it be what it is. It's fun. And if you get to go do it, that's awesome. And if you don't get to go do it, there's something else that you're going to do that's also fun.
Yeah.
I agree.
Any final thoughts on the Star Cruiser before we let you go? And again, thank you very much. Make sure to read your article. There will be a link for it in the notes. It's a fair and balanced article, which is so important.
Absolutely.
And I think
thank you, because I tried. I know that there is so much of that criticism of, well, we all got to go on a press junket, but like, again, I ran it ragged trying to find every secret thing, every little compartment, every little mission, every little thing I needed to report about. And, I walked by colleagues in the hallway, like I said, and we were just like, woo, hi, we don't have time to talk to you. Thank you, Brick. That's very nice. But like, yeah, I mean, just know that the people that went, we tried, we did our best. And there's a lot of criticism out there of us even, but like, we all just wanted to bring what we could to our followers in the way that we could. And not everybody gets to get in and see. So maybe be grateful that we got to get in and see it for you and tell you about it.
Yeah.
We tried.
Andrew, do you think you're gonna give in and let her go back for her birthday?
I'm still hoping for my rumor.
Yeah. I'm thinking about booking it like tonight. I mean, so.
So Terri,
it sounds like we've got to let them go so they can have this important discussion.
Yeah, they have to
discuss. I just book.
I call it work, right?
It's a business.
I have to go.
That's right, business trip. Write it off.
Don't tell the IRS.
No.
They don't watch the show. You're good. So Terri, where can people find you on the internet to keep up with you? Because you're not just writing about theme parks. You write a whole bunch of really interesting things, lifestyle and entertainment.
Yes, thank you. And that's the crazy thing for me today is, I spent all day yesterday kind of in this vacuum getting this article out, and then went today talking to people about Ukraine and about Russia and, just all of the other things that are going on. So it's so interesting to me that like Twitter is very caught up in the Star Cruiser stuff, but like there's a whole other world going on. So yes, I am at Peters Terri. Peters is the last name Terri, on Instagram and Twitter. And, come find me. I don't know. I share everything I write. I interviewed Joey Fatone from NSYNC last week. So like
I read that, and it's so funny. I don't care about Joey Fatone, but I read the article.
Our daughters and their
kids. Well, that's why I read it. I was like, oh, he's talking about his kid. Like,
good Lord, right? I know.
They look just like him.
Noted hot dog mogul Joey Fatone.
Oh, that one, right?
That's right.
I know. I mean, I'm all over the place, and man, I would love for people to come hang out with me. It's a wild journey, so find me.
Excellent.
You can't find Andrew Peters. He's not really on the social media.
Andrew, you're better off. That's right. Well, thank you guys very much for hanging out with us and giving us the information. I'm sure we saw a couple comments of people just thankful to get some perspective on it. So thank you very much. This has been great, and hopefully we'll have you on again sometime. This was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick. May the force be with you.
Always.